Oh, 8 o'clock on the dot. We're doing good. Good evening, everyone. That's right, Tito. We back. All right, everyone. Good evening. Today is the first day in September. I hope everyone had a fruitful and inspiring Black August. I know I did. I got to do some traveling to my second home, New York City, Brooklyn, New York City. One of my favoriteest places in the world. Even though I had to, I was in Brooklyn on quarantine protocol, so I didn't get to see the exhibits and the museums and the culture and the music that I love there so much. But, I got to roam up and down Harlem and I went to the Albee Square Mall. It's no longer the Albee Square Mall, but it's Albee Square and Fulton Mall area, to do my Biz Markie pilgrimage. So that was big fun for me. And that's so I wasn't, of course, I didn't do. But then when I got back, to get back on schedule and everything, I missed a Bro.Diallo radio broadcast and I missed a Bro.Diallo Q&A last Wednesday because my internet was out and my sons couldn't do their schoolwork. Internet was out, man, and we was like living modern primitive up in here, and I didn't want to set up for a Q&A with shoddy or inconsistent internet. So that's where I was, if you were wondering, if you missed me, But we had a technician with a mission come out and work on our internet and put in a splitter and do all kind of techie stuff. So, hopefully the internet issues are fixed. It's still a little spotty, but we'll see. Shout out to my Patreons, people who cash at me because that costs extra money, of course. And, it's a struggle out here. So I have mad appreciation and love for any and everyone that can support me, and the people who don't have the ability or willingness to support me monetarily in my Pan-African propaganda. The people who like, share, and subscribe to help propagate the message of rational, evidence-based, Pan-African conscious militancy, blah, blah, blah. So I was missed. I appreciate that. So, normally the Q&As follow the Bro.Diallo broadcast on Monday, and the Q&As are on Wednesday, and they tend to follow. I tend to open up about, Monday's show was supposed to be about Afghanistan and Black Stepping Stones, but, it kind of became, I had to change the title because it ended up being about Kanye and U.S. imperialism, were the two main topics. So, you'll notice if you go back to YouTube, I go up and update things so that I'm consistent with myself, if nobody else. So that's why this Q&A ultimate theme is hateration and cancellation. But, we're open to any questions, comments, and criticisms and engagement. Y'all know how we do on Wednesday. If you don't know how we do, this is an open Q&A forum. I normally have a guest. I had some guests lined up, but again, I kind of demobilized or put the guest on hold because I didn't want to have someone take time out of their schedule. The scholars, the activists, the Black entrepreneurs and radicals and ne'er-do-wells, and even I get some demagogues on here that are willing to speak to the people. I didn't want to have them on here and with spotty internet service. I didn't want to be going in and out on people. So now that the internet's back up, I will start to reach out to some guests I had planned already. So if you're a guest I've reached out to, and I will reach out to people I haven't reached out to yet, but I intend to have on the Q&A. So that's where we are now. Okay, so let's go get it. Let's get right into the Q&A. And here comes Tito with some stuff Man, I don't know what I've said in the past. I look forward. I'm an American, and we look forward. We don't have time to review the past. Like Colin Powell said, we don't count the bodies behind us. We just looking forward. So don't ask me about something I said. That's past tense. No, I'm playing. Okay, you said on your radio show, you said something about Zimbabwe being a libertarian capitalist state. Could you explain that more? Yes, I can explain that. In the United States, you have what is called libertarianism. And libertarians are basically, it's just another term, anarcho-capitalists, or people who believe that you don't need any type of regulation or government inputs, that the market, that the capitalist, consumer, profit-driven market was self-governing and self-regulating. So that's what libertarianism means. It means that you should be free to engage in whatever commercial activity you wish to engage in without any oversight, regulation, and limitation. And these libertarians believe that if you make a product that, I said it Monday? You sure? I don't hey man, I get up out the bed. You said I said it Monday. I get out the bed and I drink this green tea, and well, this ain't green tea, but I get out the bed, I drink green tea, and then it takes over. So blame it on the sippy sip. Blame it on the, like y'all talk about how Hennessy make y'all wild. Green tea has the same effect on me that Hennessy has on the hood. So I digress. Back to the question. So anyway, that's in the United States, and libertarians have this fantasy that they believe that in a capitalist, unregulated market, if you make a product that kills people, then the people won't buy your product, and therefore you won't be in business long enough to do any harm. So therefore, you don't need regulations telling you can't make flammable pajamas for children. You can't make a product that's saying you don't need lead paint, or you can't put lead in paint or gasoline. That the market is self-regulating is an absurdist fantasy. And you'll notice that most libertarians are white boys who never had to work or struggle for shit. And they see government regulation as only benefiting poor people. It's a social Darwinistic, but then social Darwin isn't a, because I hate people talk social Darwinism, because it's really social parasitism. But then but if y'all want to get into that, we can, but let's stick with what I said, because libertarianism has its origins in the West, in the Western Empire, but it is generally practiced in the so-called third world, where you have capitalist markets, accumulation, profit-driven, extractive markets that have little to no government oversight or regulation. And even many of those governments that have oversight and regulation written on the books, because of the corruption, the political instability in those nations, they are essentially libertarian. So that's what I mean if I say like Somalia, you'll find a lot of leftist political scientists and economists will say, if you have pure capitalism, you don't find capitalism in the United States, which is the imperial home of capitalism right now. You find pure capitalism in places like Haiti, Zimbabwe, Somalia, and to a lesser degree in places like Dubai, where you have extreme wealth and extreme poverty, chaos, exploitation, destruction of the ecosystem. And people are generally miserable, dog eat dog. So that's why I would say that Zimbabwe, in many ways, if I said it, I don't remember saying it, but if I said it, that's why I would say it, and why I would imagine I said such a thing. Because I was raised in the Baptist church, and we taught that every day is a new day. You were born again every morning. So I am not what I was. I may have been, and God walked beside me, all that stuff. So anyway, that's why I said it. If I said it, you're gonna have to give me some receipts. I can imagine saying that in the context, but if I said it, that's what I said. All right, so move on. James, what's up, man? What's up? Where would I be without you? You and Chauncey. Where's Co-Conspirator? He ain't here tonight, but that's all right. He probably thought I was still had the internets on the fritz. Okay, Zamaya. Is that how you pronounce it, Zamaya? Because I have a little niece, my oldest great niece. Can you imagine? All this gray in my beard. My niece's daughter is named Zamaya, but she spells it with a Z. She ain't uppity like you. Okay, here we go. Hi, Diallo. Is gatekeeping culture practical, especially in a hypersensitive culture? Man, that's a heavy question, and you're sliding my your premise by me. But I'm just gonna deal with what you said in the way you said it. First of all, let's deal with hypersensitive. Let me deal with the end of your question and then circle back. This is not a hypersensitive culture. That is a myth that the right wing is promoting, that the United States is a hypersensitive culture. The United States is really, man, because the United States is probably one of the most insensitive cultures in the world. You go to any major city in the United States and you will find people stepping over homeless. You know, the rate of homelessness, there's no health care, because what I understand, you know, y'all trying to make sensitivity a bad word. This is the most distracted surface culture. I would think to be hypersensitive culture would mean that you would be acutely aware of all the emerging issues going on within the culture and society and responsive to them. While there are so many real crucial issues falling by the wayside. So I think this hypersensitive culture where people are offended, I think that is played up more by the media than it actually is. Because the only people that you're not allowed to offend, that offending their sensibilities will give you real consequences, are people who hold power. You can offend the poor. You can offend the workers. You know, people will be like, well, this drug addicted celebrity got on stage and used a homophobic slur, or this stupid ass B-list celebrity got on and did blackface or something, and everybody's like, oh, and then they come out and say, oh, you guys are so sensitive. That's just nonsense. That's just clickbait and ratings hustles. So first of all, this is not a hypersensitive culture. I would say this is an extremely individualistic, atomized culture. And by atomized, I mean broken apart, split apart. This is a hyper insensitive culture. We need more sensitivity. And following the latest corporate media scare tactic, or following the latest corporate media meme, it doesn't make you a sensitive person. You know, canceling the baby, fuck you. You know, you ain't shit. You're not and not you, Zamaya, but I mean people, that these supposedly sensitive people. Oh, I don't like the baby. He said something wrong. And like I said, that same person that doesn't like the baby, or won't go to the baby's next concert, or won't, or whatever those streaming service, you block the baby from whatever music streaming service you are. And on your way home from work, you stepped over 10 or 15 homeless people. You got people, your next door neighbor could be struggling with food insecurity, and you know nothing about it. And even if you knew about it, you wouldn't care nothing about it. You know? So, first of all, I want to dispel the myth that this is a hypersensitive culture. I think this is a hyper insensitive culture. And people having opinions about consumer products or celebrities that they will patronize and won't patronize. First of all, it is their right. If I don't like Toyotas and I prefer Fords, or if I don't like the baby because he says something homophobic and I don't like the Fords, these people are products. And you have a right to have a product and even dislike something because he's a public personality. It doesn't fucking matter. You'll never meet the baby. Even the rappers tell us they on private jets. They're staying in luxury hotels and traveling to parts of the world we can't afford to get to. So you're not a hypersensitive person if some fucking distant celebrity did something and you turn them off or tune them out or refuse to go see some movie, when the people around you every day, you got people in your family struggling and suffering, you don't do shit for them. You're not a sensitive person. You're insensitive. And the people that are complaining about sensitivity, that want to be able to insult groups of people or attack vulnerable populations of people and don't want any feedback from those people, fuck them too. So people on both sides of that is bullshit. First of all, it's not a hypersensitive culture. As far as gatekeeping, the only gatekeeper in this society is capitalist accumulation. The only thing that's not allowed to progress in this society or take root in this society or proliferate in this society are things that obstruct capitalist accumulation. That's the only culture is a commodity in this culture, in this hyper insensitive culture, in this individualist hyper insensitive. So you can think, oh, these cultural gatekeepers. A lot of times that's more like a lot of things you see, a lot of conflicts you see in the media in the United States. I don't care if it's Democrats versus Republicans, Christian conservatives versus liberal, what do you call it? Universalists, Unitarians, whether it's blacks versus whites, whether it's immigrants versus true Americans. Most of the conflicts you see in this society as portrayed by the media is WWE type shit. It's shit that's distorted and hyped up in the media, because the only real conflict in this society, the true conflict that matters, the true conflict that we must win is capitalist versus the worker, the working and productive class versus the leisure accumulative class. Because poor trailer park rednecks and hood people can beat the shit out of each other for generations, which we have, and there's no fundamental change. So the gatekeeper culture, the gatekeeping culture is about capitalism. The capitalism is what kept conscious political hip-hops from thriving. Capitalism is what stopped the radical film movement that gave us movies like Sarah Unya, Sankofa, The Spook Set by the Door, and replaced that shit with Boys in the Hood and black oppression porn and black murder porn. So I think those loaded words like hypersensitive culture and cultural gatekeeping are so distorted that it's hard to give an answer to your question without explaining them. So what I would say in terms of cultural gatekeeping, culture needs to recapture. Culture needs to be decommodified. We have to stop looking at our culture as how I wear my hair or how I do my wear my fly gear or my kicks. That's not culture. Culture is how people engage the world. It is how people secure, cultivate, and reproduce themselves in the world. How they define reality and how they define themselves in respect to reality. Music should articulate the culture. Music isn't culture. Everybody has music. How isn't culture? It's the meaning behind it. It's the impact it has. So you could be black as hell and listening to the most hood music in the world, but you could be fully engaged in European culture. Because if your blackness is all about securing the bag, getting mine, fuck everybody else, and the music you're listening to is about harming and attacking black people, that's white. So we think culture is what's on the surface. It's culture emerges from within. So culture, what we need to do before we can even entertain how we're going to gatekeep our culture, who will we let in or out of our culture, we need to reclaim our culture. We need to decommodify our culture, and then we need to revolutionize our culture. Then we can start talking about, well, how will we structure our culture? Who will we let in? How will we define? Who's expelled from our culture? You know, how will we expand our culture? Should we contract and build up a wall? We can't even have those fucking discussions because our culture is contaminated. We don't even recognize black culture. You get black people who get mad at white people when white people act like gangsters, when white people are the original gangsters. They are the hood and the ghetto and the slums were created in Europe. They didn't originate in Africa or Black America. Ghetto, drive-bys with the Gatling guns, with the T-model Ford and a Gatling gun. A white dude in a T-model Ford and a Gatling gun is who invented the drive-by. So we mimic white people's degeneracy. And then when white people start to reclaim their degeneracy that we mimic from them or we had imposed on us by them, we get mad at them and think Like Dr. Clark said, we are imitating imitations of imitators. So that's an impossible question for me to answer. But let go of the myth. Don't start thinking, oh, this is a hypersensitive culture, so I need to be less sensitive. I need to let motherfuckers on the screens or coming through my speakers say any kind of shit to offend me, and I need to take it because I'm not some hypersensitive snowflake. Be fucking sensitive. Be hypersensitive. Like, nah, I ain't taking no disrespect of me or my people. Fuck you. And if you want to call me hypersensitive, good. It's better than insensitivity, because you know what that is? Numbness. And you know what comes after numbness? Death. So be sensitive and let's fight. This is a cultural warfare. We need a cultural revolution. And then we can talk about cultural gatekeeping. Hey, Marlena, what's happening? What's happening? I'll get you the timestamp after. Okay. Oh, now you're coming with receipts. What? I thought we were past that. See how people love to. All right. Yep. Day one. You know, true Bro.Diallo supporters. 0 to 100. Shout out to Black Star, the underground king. You know, he called me every like 4-5 months ago. Black Star would call me and be like, we got to get the 0 to 100 show back up. And the first time he did it, I'm like, word. Second time he did it, I was like, word. And then the third time he did it, I'm like, okay. So we'll see. You know, that's a wild dude. You know, so Black Star, he's a wild dude. But if he ever comes back down to earth, maybe we could do some Black Star 0 to 100 revival or 0 to 100 reunion or something. I said hyper visible. Oh, what? Damn, you did say hyper visible culture. Yeah, well, okay. Everything I said about hypersensitivity still stands. Thanks for pointing that out. Oh man, my eyes are getting old. Oh, I'm getting weary and my eyes are getting old. Well, in terms, same thing. Everything's yes. There is no cultural gatekeeping because culture has been commodified. And before you can talk about how your culture will be expressed or gatekeeping, you have to reclaim your culture. So we need a war to reclaim African culture, African identity, African worldview, African social theories, and then we can start debating what. But the debate right now is how do we decommodify and revolutionize Black culture? And then, and only then can we talk about gatekeeping, because everything else is about commodities. How are we going to use commodities? Music, Black music is a commodity controlled by our oppressors. Black fashion is a commodity controlled by our oppressors. Even Black vernacular and Black dances. We see how sites like TikTok and other venues are pimping our shit. So it's just hard for me to talk about Black culture in that context. But I'm sorry, I misread you. Thank you for that clarification. I'm going a mile a minute. Where are we? Okay, Andy. Hey, Diallo, what's your take on Social Security supposedly running out? And what do you think of Biden comparing himself to, or some pundits, to FDR? Oh, fine. Good question. First of all, these crackers been talking about Social Security running out since it was founded. So, here's the issue with Social Security. Social Security is in the black. It is one of the most well-secured and well-funded programs ever created in the United States. It has never missed a payment. It has never gone defunct, and it is not losing funds. What they want to do with Social Security is what they want to do with all other government programs. The capitalist parasites want to privatize Social Security like healthcare is privatized. And they want to take people's Social Security fund and inject it into the stock market. They want to gamble with that money. And that is the problem. There is absolutely no threat of Social Security running out of money or being insoluble or them not having checks available. The only way that Social Security can ever run out of money, according to how it's structured, is if the conservatives, the Republicans, and the neoliberal Democrats are able to put a portion or all of the Social Security funds and reserves into the private equity firms, give it over to hedge funds, and invest it in the stock market. The right-wing conservatives and neoliberal Democrats want to run Social Security the way healthcare is run, with private firms and private companies taking public monies, our Social Security funds, and utilizing it on the stock market. And then they will receive fees and commissions managing that money. So whenever you hear people talk about Social Security is under threat, the person saying that is the threat. It is not running out of money. And that's why most bureaucrats in the Social Security Administration are like, they don't respond to it. But the only time you will see that there is a threat to Social Security, if you see Social Security reform, Social Security legislation coming through the Congress or the Senate. That's when Social Security becomes threatened. But right now, there is only fear mongering. There is no existing. There are some proposed bills and supposed, but the thing about Social Security in the United States is white redneck racists to black grandmas and aunties, Christians and secular people, everybody in this country loves Social Security. And nobody loves Social Security more than old people. And nobody votes in primaries and general elections more loyally and more consistently than old people. So you will see these motherfuckers, the politicians and the pundits, talk a lot of shit about Social Security. But when it comes election time, they fall all the way the fuck back. So Social Security has never been not under attack because it is a huge pool of government funds that the capitalist class yet to gain access to. That is the problem. Not that it's running out of money, but the capitalists have yet to figure out a way to profit and exploit and drain those funds. So I say one more time, Social Security is not currently threatened with running out of money. And the people who say that Social Security is under a threat, they're lying to you, and they are the threat to Social Security. Number 3, if you do get politicians, a political party, or some prominent politicians that are able to advance Social Security reforms or Social Security enhancement or Social Security privatization or Social Security alternatives, listen for those words, and that's what you have to fight. You know, this Social Security shit is basically what they call in politics a problem, a solution looking for a problem. There is no problem. They have a solution for Social Security, but there is no problem. So they're trying to invent a problem to impose this solution on so that they can turn public funds into private funds, because capitalists are parasites. That's how they make money. Capitalists don't make money by coming up with a great idea and working hard, keeping your nose to the grindstone and keeping faith. Capitalists make money by robbing the working people. There is not one fucking wealthy person that didn't make their money by exploiting the labor of others. That's the only way to become rich. That's it. There's no other fucking way. And if you can name somebody who came rich through that didn't exploit the labors of others, please tell me about them. And then you'll have a brand new capitalist. I will sign up to be a capitalist. You know, I keep putting these challenges out. I said, if someone can demonstrate any evidence of God or supernatural, I will convert to Christianity. If someone could demonstrate to me how homosexuality is an existential threat to black people, I will join the gay rights movement or the black straight pride movement. If somebody can demonstrate to me, find one capitalist, because I can name thousands through history who did it, but you find one who got rich without exploiting and extirpating the labor, land, and resources of others, then I will become a capitalist. Just one. Waiting. I'm waiting. What up, Z Majors? Okay, given the topic of hateration and cancellation, finding somebody who pay attention to the topic. So rare. What's your thoughts on polite signetter and the complicity of the conscious community? I used to call signetter the Don King of consciousness. These dudes are not scholars. They're hustlers. I mean, they even say it. I mean, at first, if you go back to the early, and I mean go all the way back to 2020, 2001, 2002, I remember Sonetta. I don't know if he remembered me, but I remember him. I remember when he was up in Harlem and he'd be in downtown Brooklyn and he had a table full of VHS tapes. And for you young people, VHS tapes was how you would watch YouTube. You would watch it. YouTube used to come on little disc and you put it inside of a VCR machines. White people call them VCRs, but our ancestors called them VCR machines. So I'm joking. But I remember when he was hustling VHS tapes, and then he moved up to DVDs, and then he migrated to YouTube. And you'll know he was very Afrocentric. But you will notice if you look at the evolution of these conscious cats, they literally started dressing like pimps and hustlers. You know, Florsheim sneakers, you know, pleated tailored suits and fucking jewelry. He had a wooden ankh, and then they go from wooden ankhs to diamond encrusted gold ankhs, and they start showing they fly ass whips. You know, they literally would be walking into stores showing they money rolls, and which was a marketing thing that they did because hip hop, that's where hip hop was. They started off when hip hop was conscious and political. When your favorite rapper wasn't wearing diamond, your favorite R&B artist wasn't wearing a fucking Tiffany diamond. They were literally wearing like beaded jewelry and wooden jewelry and ANC leather medallions and shit. Even gangster rappers would be rapping about, like in that era and in the 90s, would be rapping around about driving around in a hoopty. They'd be like rap about driving around in busted cars. You know, rappers now rap about taking private jets to Dubai. Back in that day, rappers would rap about, you know, being stuck in their hood and never leaving their hood. I'll never leave, you know, no matter how much loot I get, I'm staying in the projects forever. So Sonetta kind of evolved from, you know, a conscious teaching the knowledge. And you notice he used to sell Amos Wilson lectures, Dr. Ben Yakinen. He had one of my lectures, you know, Liberation Tangible and Attainable. I did back in, 2002, in the early 2000s, late 90s. He was John G. Jackson, Francis Cress Welsing. He was pushing genuine Black radical scholars. And he went from pushing Black radical scholars to pushing Black militant and Black Afrocentric characters. And then he would try to drum up these antagonistic positions. So he basically devolved with the culture. He devolved like hip hop did. It went for something uplifting and counterculture to adopting many of the most toxic elements of the mainstream culture. And so he would set up these scenarios, you know, and he went from having long or promoting or selling and reproducing long, comprehensive discussions and lectures to producing these viral, memeable, bickering tapes. So he put up Sarah Suden, like he'd make the promotions like Sarah Suden Seti versus, like they're weaponizing and commercializing Black knowledge. I didn't like that shit, and I backed away. I stayed out. I mean, a few people would oh, why don't you go on Sonetta? Why don't you debate so and so? And it's not a debate. Nobody's laying down premise. It's just people spewing rhetoric, hostile rhetoric. And there was some good information there, but you know, an apple is nutritious. But if you give me an apple where I gotta constantly have to wipe off and rinse off the shit, I just throw the whole apple away. I'd rather get a shit-free apple than a shit-smeared apple. So, you know, a lot of people are like, yeah, but there's some knowledge in there. There's some information in there. Yeah, but you can get that information without the shit smeared all over it. That's my position. So Sonetta went from genuinely, and I knew the guy way back when, he went from genuinely providing a public service with this Black information, which I think he should be able to get paid for. He took the time to copy all those tapes, reproduce all that information, get up, and he used to have these folding tables, 2, 3 folding tables, and walk out and stand out in the sun for hours and put all this shit up. And he kind of warped it instead of giving it, because information and knowledge doesn't adjust itself to you. You have to adjust yourself to the information. Like, there's a lot of things I could easily, become a character. If you go back and look at my April Fool's broadcast where, King, whatever that shit is, go back and look at my April Fool's, like that shit. And I could come on here in a head wrap or get some noticeable feature, put fucking mascara on and shit, and get on here like young Pharaoh. I just got off the phone with Rocka Flocka. And I can get more. Y'all, I don't even get like 1,000 views on one of my videos. I'd be lucky to get like 300 views. I ain't mad. I'm a quality over quantity type dude anyway. But anyway, so that's Sa-Neter. And Sa-Neter, would take credit for, I made Dr. Umar, I made Polite. But now he's trying to distance himself. But yeah, he did a lot to do that. I think he did a service to our ancestors who did this original research, because most of these guys, including myself, are standing on the shoulders of Dr. Wilson's research. We're standing on the shoulders of Dr. Ben Yakinen, Dr. Hare, and all these brothers and sisters, Dr. Marimba Ani. We stand on their shoulders. They passed the baton to us. Dale Jones, Sister Quarendon. Some of them are still alive and elders, and some of them, Dr. Leonard Jeffries still with us. And they passed the baton to us. And instead of continuing to build on that analysis, to build on that research, to build on that wisdom, they codified it. They packaged it in such a way that they could sell it to a wider audience. And it went from being education to entertainment. And so I talked about Polite. Polite was a con man. I always recognized him as a con man. I was looking at my Facebook memories from like 5 years ago. I was talking something. He's always a hustler and a con man. And now we find out he's also a predator, which is consistent. Most con men are predators, and most predators have to be con men, because if you're preying on people, especially children, you're doing something that is illegal, and to thankfully to most people is a reprehensible behavior. So you master with a predatory mentality tend to be very charming. Predatory people, demagogues, they tend to be charming people. They cultivate those skills because, when you're interacting with someone, you got a sincere intent, but they're calculating the whole time, And I had a homeboy who had a psychopathic predatory mentality. And every time he looked at a woman, he couldn't even look at a woman and be like, she's beautiful, she's attractive, or I like to get to know her. Every time he looked at anyone, a man or a woman, it's always sizing them up to see how he could manipulate, maneuver, and get what he can from them. So predators are always doing assessments, always calculating. And, you have people that have sincere intentions, and you're there having a sincere interaction, trying to get to know somebody or trying to work with somebody, and the predator is acting just like you on the surface, but within their mind, they're really trying to go. So yeah, but you can go to, I don't know, what was that? Let me see. But I talked in detail about Polite, and I don't want to get sick and spit up on this microphone. I mean, he went and did a 47-minute. Basically, this motherfucker said he wanted this to happen, and he said that him getting caught or him being arrested for this. Okay, on 1 week ago, it's a show broadcast called U.S. Imperialism at the Crossroads and Stepping Stones. So if you go look at that, and I'm gonna go timestamp my videos. It's a slow, painful process. Timestamp. Shout out to Delta Star Media. He's done some, but you can go check that out. I'll pull it up. This is the video. I'll just show you where I talk in depth. I don't know why it's circulating. Let me screen share this shit. This is the video right here. Oh, wait. This is the video. You see here? It says U.S. imperialism to cross the refugees on August 23rd, 2020. So just search this show, and I talk in depth about Polite and his alleged crimes, and how he's basically Sorry. And how he's basically spinning this. It's really disgusting. And as far as the conscious community, I love the conscious community. I think conscious black people are the most valuable black people. Yes, I'm putting high quality. I think the highest quality men and women in our community are black people who use their time, talent, and resources to make a positive contribution to the just aspiration to the collective of black people. That's what's making. I don't give a fuck how much money you got or lack. So the conscious community is complicit because we are well entertained by this, Afrocentric soap opera that soap Sonetta and then his copycats and many people. But he is the father. He'll tell you he's the father of conscious media and all that shit. So I think he should carry that weight. Should he be canceled? I don't know, but I don't consume his shit because it's shit. So what I would say is you have somebody that rises to prominence. There are a lot of other media sources for progressive, revolutionary, conscious, critical media. And I say go and support sources of black conscious media, from the Bro.Diallo show to Black Power Media, Brother Kidi Obiawadu, LIB Radio. There are a lot of other people. I'll try to do more myself to promote other sources. But damn, I'm not doing a good job promoting myself. But I'll do what I can to help to promote other sources. And I think Sonetta, stop paying attention to that motherfucker, because he has platformed a lot of con men. And now we know he's platforming predators as well. So the best way to deal with that motherfucker, with polite, the white man got him. The white man got him. So white folks got Sonetta. Keep Sonetta. They gonna deal with him. Judicial system. They got a strong fucking case against this dude, from DNA to camera footage of him going in and out of the hotel with his child, to the child's own direct testimony of him giving her drugs and her passing out and trying to induce vomiting in the child. It's utterly disgusting. I worked in a trauma center for years, so I've seen dead bodies that were fished out of the rivers, bloated dead corpses, and shut-in people who died and basically fused with the chair they were sitting in. I've seen some horrendous stuff. I've seen young, vibrant children come in with their limbs off. So I've seen a lot of that. I worked in Truman Medical. If you're in Kansas City, you know Truman Medical. It's like a war zone. I've seen a lot of gunshot wounds, a lot of stab wounds. I've seen a lot of traumatic things. And thankfully, my education, really, a lot of my training helped me to deal with that. So when I read those detailed stories about traumatic things, I fall back on a lot of my former medical training of being able to, when you see someone, on the brink of death, and you see their organs, literally spilling out of their body, and you're trying to work to save them, you kind of go into this mechanical mode, and you just do what you have to do. You can't break down, you can't run away, you can't even turn away and look away. So I read that stuff. But if you don't really have the capacity for that kind of stuff, because the body doesn't really distinguish whether it's a dead body in front of you or you're reading detailed accounts of dead bodies, the brain kind of interprets that a lot of way. A lot of the same stress hormones and stuff hit you. So saying all that to say, content warnings and shit, I think that shit is important. I'm glad more and more people are being aware of content warnings. Maybe I should do more of that. But reading what Polite allegedly did to this child, and I believe it. Personally, I believe it. His psychological profile, his behavioral patterns are consistent with people who do shit like that. I wouldn't read that shit if you're not really able to cope with trauma and horrendous shit before your eyes. Everybody ain't built for that. I'm not bragging to say I'm built for that. I commend the people who are like hypersensitive. I feel so foolish that I misread that. But I wouldn't recommend that you read what this man did. I'm not going to recount it again. I went through it and broke it down the first time. So go to that show, and fuck Brother Polite. And Sonetta should face real consequences. And not because of Sonetta, because I don't think he's going to change. But I think he should be an example in the future. If you are dealing with black consciousness, with the knowledge and the wisdom that is available to us to help us liberate ourselves, you don't play with that. If you want to make comedy, goofy shit, movies like Friday, you can play with everything else. Don't play with Black liberation. Don't play with our ancestors and our history. And don't play with the education or re-education of our African people. And don't commercialize that shit. That's what I say. So going on. Zamaya again. Am I pronouncing your name right? I told you I got a great niece named Zamaya. I noticed many so-called leftists are starting to hate on words like woke, cancel culture, etc., like conservatives. Why is that? I think it's mainstream because woke has been around since I was a child. You know, there's music, wake up! You know, that's where it came from, wake up. You know, you go back into the early 90s and you had that song, one of my favorite songs by Brand Nubian, Sunshine. Wake up, wake up, wake up. So there was a movement back in the 60s. It came along, it resonated alongside the Black is Beautiful movement of waking up our people, or what was called formerly consciousness raising. So the word woke were basically people who had gone through the process of consciousness raising. And if you go look at old Spike Lee's movies, you'd hear the term wake up more so than woke, because the focus and the impetus was on waking up our people. And the woke people didn't really have to say, well, I'm woke. You didn't have to announce yourself as woke. People would know whether or not you woke. People would be like, oh, that brother's awake, he's aware. And the reason that is because black people have gone through a systematic multi-generational process of menticide, of warping our understanding of who we are and warping our understanding of our place in the world. So it was a revolutionary act to raise the consciousness raising, and every real political organization and every prominent Black individual would engage in consciousness raising, which became prominent. So basically, the wake up, the effort to wake up the sleeping people, the sleeping giant, became woke. And the woke people started announcing that they were woke, or trying to assert that they were woke. And really the obligation or the role of the woke is to wake up other people, or each one teach one. Go look that song up by Poor Righteous Teachers, Each One Teach One, off their Pure Poverty album. Love that song. So waking up, or in the 5% nation, the nation of gods and earth, the 85, the role of the 5% was to wake up the 85%. So I can understand why the right wing, so leftists are basically hating on the concept woke. Well, I don't know any true leftists that hate on it. I know bandwagon people start to hate on woke or the concept woke, but anybody with a historical foundation or a true leftist doesn't hate on the words. Who gives a fuck about it? It's the meaning. Or as Peter Coffin says, words don't have meanings, they have uses. How do you use the word? So what I think about that is that people are just being vulnerable to right-wing propaganda. From my point of view, I'm not offended by the concept of wokeness. If someone claims to be woke, you can really engage with them to find out if they're genuinely woke or they're just, perpetrating a fraud, as we used to say. So if you're truly woke, more likely than not, you don't have to always announce your wokeness. Your wokeness should be demonstrated, not always articulated. In terms of your own personal wokeness, and to be awakened is something you should be proud of, to have your consciousness raised and to work to raise the consciousness of others. So wokeness is a good thing, and don't let these goddamn right wingers or these bandwagon consciousness or these bandwagon leftists demonize that word. We need to hold on to it. The concept, I don't care if you need to call it something else because that word is so charged in this political arena, then, but I would say it's nothing more than, it's always been a part of the Black liberation struggle, going really all the way back to Reconstruction, of waking Black people up. And the original wokeness or the original consciousness raising was basic literacy. Going from an illiterate slave to a literate citizen of America that was raising the consciousness, raising our ability to intellectually engage with the world and understand the world. And it went from securing basic literacy to recapturing our history that was denied to us, knowing African history and understanding that we are an extension of Africa. We weren't broken or separated from Africa, but when you take Africans out of Africa, you expand Africa's presence, you don't eliminate it. So African consciousness, knowing African history, knowing African culture, adapting the helpful and relevant cultural and historical practices of our ancestors, even adopting our ancestors' names, things of that nature. That's what wokeness and consciousness raising is. As far as white people don't do wokeness because they are even if you're a good white person, white people talking this woke shit and consciousness raising shit because black people, we are subjected to menticide. They try to destroy our mental and intellectual capacity. White people are subject to brainwashing, meaning to adopt. So it's not really the job of white people to be woke. White people have to re-educate themselves. True. They have to, but white history, white normalization, white people from their features being the beauty standards to their history and their faces in all the media. So it is appropriation, I think, when white people start to talk woke, and there was no laws in this country against white people learning to read. And white people were given scholarships and funding and grants to go all over the world to expand their knowledge. When white people look at the government buildings, they see Roman and Greek architecture all around them. When they look at their money, they see their ancestors on the money. So the whole consciousness raising thing is different. You really have to deconstruct white people's myths. You have to deconstruct their understanding while you construct ours. So I don't really like when white people or white liberals or white leftists come and say, yeah, I'm woke because I know that Black Lives Matter is the appropriate way to approach not all lives matter. That's not fucking wokeness. You know, it's political correctness maybe, but I'm not. I love political correctness. That's a whole nother discussion you didn't ask about. As far as cancel culture is a myth. There is no culture of cancellation. And the closest thing to cancel culture that is in this country comes from the right wing, not the left. There was a time, cancel culture is McCarthyism. And in order to carry out McCarthyism, you need to control the apparatus of the state, the apparatus and the institutions of the state, and the economy of the state, which people don't have. Not clicking on someone's rap video is not canceling them. Refusing to go sit in a movie theater and see some rich asshole celebrity who's a rapist celebrity or racist celebrity's movie is not canceling them. And bringing someone up on criminal charges for a long history of sexual predation is not canceling them. You know, cancel culture is a myth. There is no one who has been a victim of cancel culture. One thing that it is that if you want to say it's peasantry or serfdom or elitism. The problem is the social media has given a voice and venues to people who don't have money. It used to be if you wanted to have a large platform to talk to many people, you had newspapers, you had televisions, and you had radio. And to get on the newspaper, TV, or radio, you needed a lot of money. Or you could be on a billboard somewhere. But it used to be money. Mark Twain once said, never start a fight with someone who buys ink by the barrel. Because the media or the newspapers were called the fourth estate. So the only people who had the power to not just criticize, but have their criticisms resonate across borders, have their criticism resonate across the land were wealthy people. So if you look at media of the past, it was mostly elite people critiquing other elite people. And that's not always a bad thing because there are some elite critics. Like one of my favorite political and social critics are like Michael Parenti. But he's a PhD and a tenured college professor. Michael Moore, who is a multimillionaire filmmaker. And it used to be those were the only type of people who could speak for the masses. So when we had a problem with a wealthy person or a person in a position of influence or wealth or power, we could go to the bar. It used to be you go to the bar and be like, man, I don't like this politician. Or this particular R&B singer is a job turkey. James Brown is a job turkey. He up there with Ronald Reagan and doing commercials for Ronald Reagan. James Brown is a job turkey. And the only person that would hear that is your wife, who don't listen to you. Your wife's brothers, they stopped listening to us probably 3-4 years into the marriage. And your wife can hear you. Your kids stop listening to you once they come out the womb. Now, let me stop saying these old tired jokes. Or you can go to your barbershop. You could go to church and talk, but even your minister be like, don't gossip, it's a sin. So that was used to be. If you were a poor or working class, even a lower middle class or middle class person, you couldn't get your critiques and your criticisms beyond your limited social circle unless you had big money. But if you were a wealthy man back in the 80s and 90s, you could have your criticisms go across the world. If you didn't like something, the world would know that you didn't like it, and they would know why you didn't like it. But now the era of social media has made it for little people like me who have no money, who have no status in the system. I have status within my community. I can say something that can resonate with other people and engage with people from all over the globe. And that's the fucking problem. There has always been criticisms and critiques. When you go to the university, you can literally take college level and graduate level courses in critique and criticism. But the wealthy people and these rich Negroes, Kevin Hart, Barack Obama, who said cancel culture, Barack Obama, and these wealthy Uncle Tom, cool handkerchief head, sellout Negroes don't like to hear from us peasants. The only thing they want to hear from us peasants is praises and accolades. When they show up, just for showing up, like Jay-Z said, my presence is charity. So cancel culture is actually not, it doesn't exist. Anybody that's wealthy that is complaining about cancel culture has no respect for the lower classes, which is fine because lower classes have no reason to respect upper classes. And when you hear poor and working class people talk about cancel culture, it's because they're indoctrinated and they need to cultivate their history of media and media criticism. I mean, there are whole volumes of books that do nothing but critique. Everything is critiqued in society. Policies, art is critiqued, but if you want to critique a work of art, if you want to critique a plate of food, if you want to critique an artist or a politician, you had to have a degree, you had to be employed by corporations and get permission. Now I could just go online and be like, I don't like this shit. I think that shit's stupid. And the elites don't like that, or I don't want to support this person because this person has violated a principle or a value that I hold dear. And then other people would be like, I hold that same value and I'm going to unite with that. That's not cancel culture. That's what the elites have been doing. You go to work and get fired. That's fucking cancel culture. Me saying I ain't watching Kevin Hart's movie ain't no fucking cancel culture. Kevin Hart still eat. And if you really want to fight quote unquote cancel culture, focus on people being denied medical treatment, people losing their job, people getting canceled from your home, your landlord evicting you. That's the cancel culture we need to focus on. That's the real cancel culture. Not saying fuck off to celebrities or rich people. Sterling asks, what is your definition of racism? My definition of racism is the same as Dr. Bobby E. Wright's definition of racism. Racism is the oppression and exploitation of people based on their racial or phenotypical characteristics. And the only way to engage in racism is to have control of the means of production, having institutional power over the economy, the military, institutions of the state, and the institutions of commerce and business and production. So only people in positions of that power or people who are in the group that control such things can engage in racism. Racism is the oppression and exploitation of people based on their race. That's what it is. And there's a lot of non-racists that, like Judaism. Jews are not a race. Jew is an ethnicity, is even a religion. I could convert to Judaism tomorrow. And that's why there's a book called Empire of the Earth. I got this screen share and I look for excuses. To use these on this here computer machine. There's this book called Empire of Their Own. Professor Mackey loved this book. Let me share the screen. Look at that technology. How the Jews Invented Hollywood, an Empire of Their Own by Neil Gabler. And in this book, he talks in depth about how a lot of Jews who came to the United States actually were able to hide their Judaism. They would change their name. They would have Yiddish names, you know, and so your name would be Goldstein or Goldberg, and you would change it to just Gold. My name is Michael Gold, you know, and your name would be David, and you change it to David. So that shows you that if you can hop races like that, or like Dr. Wright said, if you can pass your name black. So this is shows that certain groups that call racism is not really accurate technically or socially, historically inaccurate, but phenotype, hair textures, skin color, nose, lips. You have so many boxes to check. And people say racism is a construct, but race is basically how we classify certain phenotypes and geographical and phenotypical people or characteristics of groups of people. So that's what racism is. Racism is prejudice plus power. There's a lot of ways people do it, but that's it, isn't it? Sterling. People forget Obama was trying to private. Yes, Obama was a nightmare. My only problem with Obama, above all other presidents, is, you know, I have a lot of brothers, right? And if I walked outside and a dude ran up on me and was like, stick him up, I'd be like, man, this asshole. I give him the wallet. I'd be like, damn, he got me, caught me slipping. But if I walked outside and my brother, Linnell, brother Jovan, you know, if one of my brothers, Artie, shout out to Artie, I missed you. Next time I'm in New York, let's do lunch. If one of my blood brothers stuck a gun in my face, it would hurt me more. It would make me more outraged, because if you ask me, I'd give it. So when black people do the same shit white people do, and people be like, when people excuse Obama's treason and be like, white president's been doing it, white president's been dropping bombs, white president's been ignoring us, white president's been denying us reparations. Yeah, but it hits different when Obama does it, because he's black. When Michelle gets up there and gives George W. Bush, a war criminal and a racist, give George W. Bush a lap dance and eat candies right out of his hands while cleaning his fingers. When black folks do us wrong, it's worse. I don't understand why we don't understand this anymore. And I literally have people coming to me excusing black traitors by saying white people did it too. Whatever happened, now I don't like that concept is you gotta be twice as good to get half as far. But black people used to have a concept, understanding that the standards and the rules and the requirements and the expectations of our own people are different than white folks. So you couldn't use what white people did or didn't do to excuse what you did. There used to be a show called Give Me a Break. And she had a homegirl that did something wrong. And our homegirl said to her, oh, I just told a little white lie. And she said to her, black people don't tell white lies. And all of you people, fuck you to all those people that came to me and said, well, you talking about what Obama dropped, Bush did it too, Trump did it. We can't use, I want to bang the table, but I don't. I guess I'm not as passionate as I think. I got a little table over here. We can't, dang, I hit that table. I don't want to hit the table with the camera. But we can't use white people. They, as Dr. Clark said, they are not our teacher. No, I'm sorry. Kwame Ture said they are not our teachers. They are not our example. They are not our standard. They are not the yardstick by which we measure ourselves. Stop. If you criticize a black person, you can't say white folks did it too to justify it. You come over. If you want to defend Obama, I'm not saying you can't defend Obama if you are so inclined. If you just that's saturated in the Kool-Aid, I ain't saying don't defend him. But you are disgracing Obama when you defend him by comparing him to white war criminals and tyrants. Okay, Sterling, who did you vote for in the 2020 election of POTUS? I voted for the Green Party candidate. Who I don't even remember who it was. Oh, this is shameful. I voted Green. I did not vote for Biden, nor did I vote for Trump. Who did I vote for? I don't even remember. I knew it was a wash, but I did it. Principality. This is bad. Wow. I hate that I have to look this up. Howie Hawkins. I voted for Howie Hawkins. Green Party. So, that's why I voted for. He was on the ballot here in Chip. So I just didn't. I could have probably racked my brain, but I just pulled it up. Yeah, I voted for Howie Hawkins. This is the platform I voted for. If you must know, in my business, here's a witness. All in my business. I'm trying to magnify. Before you take my love away. This is who I voted for. You voted for. This is who I voted for right here. And I didn't remember. I'm not even ashamed that I didn't remember. Howie Hawkins and Angela Walker. They were on the ballot here. So that's who I voted for, if you must know. What's going to happen with these supply chain issues and shortages on various goods? It's going to be high-tech barbarism. The nations or the countries or the groups with the most guns and weapons will get it, and everybody else will either face starvation or face murder at the hands of the people with the guns if they try to take it. This is a market-based economy. In a market-based economy, people, your needs are met based on how you can pay. And if you can't pay to have needs met, then you perish, whether that's healthcare or food. In a needs-based economy, you receive based on what you need. So if you are a woman with a large family, then you get a large house. But in a market economy, you could be an individual who lives alone and you get 10 houses while the women with all the children are sleeping in doorways and in the streets. So we need to go, in order to correct these supply chain issues and shortages, first thing we need to do is abate climate change. We need to do carbon emissions and engage in carbon sequestration and many other things. And then we have to go from a capitalist market economy to a socialist needs-based economy. I'm gonna get real fast. I'm gonna go mad fast. So I'm going mad quick. Phil, what's up, man? Phil gave me this microphone. Didn't you give me this microphone? Donations. I know this is probably your last microphone. Send 2 more. I'll tell you later. Anyway, yeah, Phil sent me this as a support. So shout out to Phil. Everybody can shout out. What was I saying? Phil. Yes, press the like button. I think that the Illuminati reptilians are suppressing my YouTube views. I think they the ones who messed up my internet access. So if you want to fight the reptilian overlords, Illuminati reptilian overlords, high on adrenochrome. I hate when people say this. When I was so trying to say that again. That's just one time. Okay, here's somebody. Dan Price. Yeah, I heard about that, but the motherfucker didn't get $1 billion by doing that. He did that after he made $1 billion. And it doesn't matter, because if I'm paying you $70,000, you got to be generating at least $140,000. You can't. Profit is theft. So if his profits went up, that means his level and rate of theft went up. You know, you have to pay someone what their labor generates. We always talk about, you know, getting what you earn. If you are working at a job, they can't pay you the rate that you generate. So if you generate $10 an hour and they pay you $10 an hour, there's no profit. So profit is theft. So you tell me this Dan Price, but I don't know him. But I pretty much, I think if we dug into it, you know, you went up and pulled a damn benevolent billionaire out your ass. Come on. And also, this is something we also miss. There's two steps to wealth: accruing or securing or accumulating wealth, and this sustaining wealth. We all know that if you just get money and put it on the table, it starts to depreciate. This is a fiat currency. So if you just got money sitting on the table, it starts to depreciate as soon as you earn that dollar. In order to slow or reverse the depreciation of that dollar, you have to what? Put it in an interest-bearing account or invest it. And then that interest-bearing account and that investment account, what do they do with it? They go and stack it on other people's money. And those other people's money goes into a bigger pile of money. And then that big pile of money is given over to Raytheon, Boeing, and these evil multinational corporations and these extractive industries to go and exploit somebody on your behalf. And they'll take $1 billion and give you your little 3.2 or 1.5% annual interest rate while they're making all this money off of the people's money. So the capitalists, the fucking capitalists, use socialism. All economies, all work, all industries are socialistic. Capitalism is not an economic system. Capitalism is an extraction of an economic system. It is a parasite. So you ever see those sharks swimming through the water, and then the lampreys are attached to the shark? This is capitalism. I'm talking like y'all can see it. This is a capitalist right here. This guy, he don't hunt. He like Donald Trump, fucking Elon Musk. They don't make shit. Donald Trump doesn't make the fucking buildings. He's a real estate mogul, but he don't know how to build buildings. Elon Musk do not go to the factory floor and build them fucking cars or dig them tunnels for his tunneling company. What they do is, Shark is socialism. Shark is the collective work and the collective wealth of the people and the land, and the capitalists attach to the shark and suck on it with this mouth. That's capitalism. And you showed me someone who made money without doing that. And at Dan Price, like you said, I made $1 billion, so I want to get into heaven. So now I'm gonna start paying y'all what y'all worth. No, I'm not gonna pay y'all what y'all worth because I'm still making profit. And then did he give back and redistribute the $1 billion he already had? Did he commit class suicide? If not, he's a fucking parasite. Okay. Oh, you answered the question. Okay, this is the Brother Kadir Anderson show. Thank you, Kadir, for echoing my sentiments. Death to capitalism. Okay, Malcolm X. Lynn Diallo, per the topic, thoughts on Spike Lee and his involvement in the 9/11 Twin Tower event being an inside job, and the HBO special he directed, but asked to remove conspiracy elements from it. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Spike Lee, man. He's just a weirdo. But I don't believe the story of 9/11. I don't accept the mainstream line, because in terms of conspiracy, the actual main story of the 9/11 attacks is a conspiracy theory. They said that Osama bin Laden in a cave somewhere in Pakistan or Afghanistan, plotted with other members of the Mujahideen to carry out a terrorist attack. And then he instructed several Saudi Arabians to come to the United States and get flight lessons. And with those flight lessons, they were to hijack commercial airline flights with box cutters and then fly them into buildings. Now, somebody about to, here come the hater. What you want? It is? Oh, thanks for telling me. Oh, you came to help. It was the helper, not the hater. I'm sorry. Thank you. She told me to turn down the music. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, and then these men, through taking lessons, were able to fly into buildings, and then those buildings collapsed into their footprints. The Twin Towers, 3 buildings. 2 buildings were hit, 3 buildings collapsed almost completely. I was in New York City when that happened. I walked across the Brooklyn Bridge, and I went and saw the smoldering ashes of me and Brother Wilson. Saw it the same day. I think I got there within 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. I got there before they were, because they eventually cordoned off and pushed people way back. And I went there to see history in the making. I don't believe it, because there's no evidence of it. They never shown us evidence. George Bush went to the Taliban and said, give us Bin Laden. And the Taliban said, we can get you Bin Laden. We have him in custody. The only thing we want you to do, we want 2 things from you. 2 things. First, stop bombing our country. We will give you Bin Laden if you stop bombing our country, and if you basically tell us what your case is, why you want him. How do you connect him to this? So I think the story's bullshit. And liberals, white liberals, are basically like, Bush lied. Bush lied about his motivations for getting us into war. Bush lied about being a compassionate conservative. Bush lied about protecting the working classes. Bush lied about helping the working people who everything in Bush's platform, he fucking lied about. Y'all don't remember when George W. Bush was running for president? He ran as what is called a compassionate conservative. He ran as a compassionate conservative, which was a new conservatism. And the motherfucker got in there and was one of the most dispassionate conservatives. So liberals were like, Bush lied. There was a slogan called Bush lied and people died. He lied about Saddam Hussein. Literally, these fucking liberals who believe the 9/11 story are literally saying Bush and his administration lied about everything except 9/11. They told the truth about who carried out 9/11 and how they carried out 9/11. And even though he lied about their motivations, oh, they attacked us because of our freedoms. Those are the only 2 truths that Bush told the whole fucking time he was in office. That just doesn't fucking make sense. And they never made the case. The 9/11 Commission report was full of redactions, and several people, and when he first set up the 9/11 Commission report, he wanted to put Henry Kissinger to lead it up. And Henry Kissinger made a lifelong career of covering up America's atrocities. So the whole shit is fucking smelly. I'm not saying I know what happened. There have been people saying making all kind of crazy claims about micro nukes and holograms. And I think they put that shit in there, these crazies in there, to make the people who have rational questions look crazy. Because it used to be like, I question the gain of function testing in Wuhan lab. This whole corona thing seems suspicious about the outbreak and the spread and the rate of spread. I have some questions. Oh, you believe 5G towers? You crazy. So I think the corporate media literally pushes things like these absurd things so that the people who have sound or rational questions and doubts seem as crazy as the crazies. I don't claim to know what happened in 9/11. I don't have the resources to do that level of investigations, but there are architects and engineers for 9/11 truth, and we know for a fact that George Bush took all that steel and took the largest crime scene in American history, the 9/11 Twin Tower and Tower number 7 rubble, put that shit on freight trips and shipped it off to somewhere to be destroyed. Why weren't there all the forensic experts and investigators and metallurgists from all over the fucking country should have convened on that spot and did a detailed investigation? All they did after 9/11 was let some cadaver dogs sniff around the rubble, pull a few bodies off, and he's like, all right, wrap this shit up. And literally, there was a riot where the police were fighting the firemen, because the firemen were like, we have an opportunity to not maybe find some people alive, and we have an opportunity to recover some more people from that building. And the police says the search is over. We're gonna bulldoze this shit and get it out of here. And the firemen, let me see. And the firemen and police, the firemen had a riot. Here's an image from it. The firemen had a riot where they fought the police in 9/11. I believe this is from forgive me if this isn't, I'm just pulling it up just now. But I believe this is the police. So you can search 9/11 firemen fight the police. Because the investigators and the fire inspectors and shit and the rescue people were literally like, why are you forcing us to leave this land? Steve Coakley talked about this in detail. Steve Coakley went into great detail about this. But the firemen and the policemen and the firemen rioted and protested and said we could still do some recovery. We could still do some good here. Why are you rushing us? Why are you forcing us to leave? Oh, here's. Oh no, that's in Paris. So, and I remember I was living in New York when that happened. So anyway, I got questions. As far as Spike Lee being told to remove Spike Lee in terms of his historical films, Spike Lee has a lot of ego. He's a talented dude. I mean, I'm impressed by the visual stories he's able to tell. But like, if his 9/11 shit is anything like Malcolm X, his Malcolm X movie was absurd. It was good entertainment, but it was not a good historical film. It was not a good historical film. So if he's making a political documentary or a historical documentary, he's not very good at it, in my opinion. You know. But I don't know if it's an inside job or not. I don't know. I don't know what I do know is that the official story is as crazy as some of the conspiracies out there. The government's position is as much conspiratorial as the guys on the internet and all the rest of us who have questions. And nobody's proven their position. There's no more proof of the official position. And then they went in and captured bin Laden, and then they executed him and buried him at sea. And there's no footage of that. And Obama said the reason there's no footage is because he wanted to be respectful. He wanted to be respectful of bin Laden. Let me show you something about. Let me show you what America does when they capture an enemy. They don't have respect for their enemies. Oh, wait. This is what they do when they catch an enemy. Let me show you. Oh, give me 1 second. This mouse is jumping around. What the hell? This is what they do. Let me show you. See Saddam Hussein in his tidy whities? They put this on the cover of and if you know anything about his culture, if you know anything about his community, they put Saddam Hussein in his pictures of him. He was in his cell getting dressed to go stand before the War Crimes Tribunal. And this is what they do. And then you saw the pictures of him hiding in the hole, of Gaddafi hiding in the hole. You know, this is what they do. Let me see. One more time to drive this home. They show Saddam in his underwear. They show Saddam in his underwear. They show Muammar Gaddafi being sodomized with a knife. They show him detailed images of him being sodomized with the knife all over. So the same country that when they conquer you, they disgrace you, they dehumanize you. They did the same thing to Milosevic. Just to show it's saying just something that they reserve something they reserve for this one ain't, it's rarely available. But I think you get my point. I could just pull up victims of U.S. imperialism all night. But what I'm saying is the United States has no history of showing consideration to its conquest, to its conquered enemies. But it just so happens for the greatest enemy of America in the modern era, the greatest, most evil man since Adolf Hitler, Obama says, I don't want any images of us capturing Satan, of us beating Satan. And we're going to bury him at sea. No DNA. And they could have interrogated, they could have taken him alive. Even the men of SEAL Team 6 who claim to have done the raid said that the lies about him hiding behind one of his wives. They said they came up on this man who had crippling kidney disease, who was on dialysis before 9/11, who was hiding in a safe house in Pakistan, northern Pakistan. They could have went in there and slapped the cuffs on this man, and they couldn't even, he would have to been wheelchaired out. They could have taken him alive and put him on TV and got a full confession, even a forced confession. That shit, if it walked like a duck and it smells like a cover up and it quacks like a cover up, can't trust it. So moving on. Oh, music too loud. Sorry, y'all. I turned it off. Okay, that's it for no more music. We'll have intro and outro music. No more music during the Q&A. Sorry about that. But I think that's it. I'm just scrolling for questions. What was the question? Well, I don't see any more questions. Sometimes y'all start talking to each other. It's good. We all community. Sorry, sister. No more music. I promise. You have my word. No more music. Oh, and anyway, let me do a brief commercial. Go to African World Order. Get your Bro.Diallo merch. City of Chicago, Skyline, City of Chirac. And that's that. I think we'll wrap it up. I'm sorry if the music was distracting. I'm trying to set the tone. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get y'all in a relaxed mood so you can receive this information and insights and critical thoughts. That's what they do. That's why they have music in church and music in shopping malls. When you music and you're just able to take the message and inspire you. But that's it. That's it. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, thank you to Africa. We're not gonna have no more music. And that's it. I was trying to see if there's any residual. Just everybody, yo, what's up? Afriki, hey, you in a while. How you doing? Okay, y'all haters. 2 planes knocked down 3 buildings. It's like Dick Gregory said. I know Dick Gregory's known for saying some wild shit. Rest in peace, Dick Gregory. He's from Missouri like me. He's a fellow Missourian. He said, if you're on a plane going, 600, 700, 800 miles an hour, and you're flying towards a structure, those structures look like this. It's very small. You know how you in a plane and everything looks small. So it is just an enormous feat for those guys to take a few lessons on some small crop duster planes and know how to control and maneuver a plane like that. If it don't make dollars, then it don't make sense. Man, y'all mean. But anyway, I'm not going to hold y'all. This is Bro.Diallo. Oh, I got to put the thing on the thing. Where is it? Here it is. Bam. I didn't do the commercial. And make an appeal for support. Make an appeal for like, shares, and subscribe. But you can support Bro.Diallo. You see it going across the bottom just now. Patreon. Shout out to my Patreons. I mean, we all should shout out Bro.Diallo's Patreons if you really, really appreciate Bro.Diallo's media empire. Black Rupert Murdoch over here. And Cash App. You can Cash App me. All funds are appreciated and sorely, greatly needed. Shout out to Awa. She's the one that put me on the Patreon. I didn't know nothing about it. Shout out to all my nerdy supporters that know this computer stuff, because, you know, I can't be bothered to learn that stuff. But anyway, thank you for listening. Sorry about the music. No more music. You'll just hear my melodious voice in future Q&As. No more music. We'll have music for intro and music for outro, and that's it. No fuss, no muss. Okay? Good night. And I'll see you next week. I will start to reach out. Oh, and if you have someone you'd like to have on the Q&A, or if there were past guests you'd like to see come back, I know y'all want to see, like I could bring that damn Hebrew Israelites. We're actually really good friends. We don't agree on anything except that we're friends with each other and we're cool. But if you want to bring back, I don't know, he changes his name. You know how black people, black Hebrew Israelites, they don't speak or read Hebrew or Yiddish, but they use the squiggly lines. They change their font to the squiggly line fonts. So I don't even know his name in my Yahoo. But anyway, I could bring back that black Hebrew Israelites and we can do another. Y'all enjoyed that. But anyway, that's it. Good night. Now I'm going to play the music, but this is outro. And I can turn it up. Here we go. Good night, y'all. Thanks for listening. Please support, like, share, subscribe. Good night.
Thank you.